on a Saturday afternoon. Sun blazing across the perfectly trimmed lawns of a suburban neighborhood. Children laughing somewhere in the distance. The smell of barbecue drifting in the air. And then, a sound no one could ignore. Not a gunshot, not a car crash, but a slap, so loud it seemed to stop the world for a moment. The HOA wife, the black man, the argument in his own driveway. Next to his car, a simple silver Polo. Phones came out. Cameras recorded. Neighbors gasped. And what should have been a minor confrontation spiraled into something much darker. Because this wasn't just a slap. This was an expose waiting to happen. And when the truth finally came out, it was far bigger than anyone imagined. The neighborhood of Willow Creek Estate sat on the edge of a booming southern city, a place where old farmland had been transformed into winding cul-de-sacs, manicure hedges, and shiny new homes with two-car garages. It was marketed as a community built on values. And at the heart of those values, the Homeowners Association. The HOA wasn't just about keeping lawns green and mailboxes uniform. It was power, it was control, and it was often weaponized. Behind the polished newsletters and the summer block parties, there were whispers, stories of intimidation, of selective enforcement, of families leaving in silence after being targeted. Into this seemingly perfect place moved Derrick Coleman. Derrick was 38 years old, a logistics manager for a regional shipping company, a father to a 10-year-old boy, Caleb. He wasn't rich, but he'd saved for years to buy this home. A modest two-story with a small backyard where Caleb could play soccer. For Derrick, the Polo parked in his driveway symbolized more than transportation. It was pride, a reward for years of working overtime shifts, a marker that he had made it. And yet, to some in Willow Creek, Derrick's presence was an intrusion. Every HOA has a figurehead. In Willow Creek, it was Victoria Halston. Victoria was in her mid-50s. Perfectly styled blonde bob, pastel cardigans, diamonds flashing on her fingers. Her husband Richard was the HOA president on paper, but everyone knew Victoria pulled the strings. She was relentless. If your lawn was a quarter-inch too high, expect a fine. If your trash can was left out after pickup day, expect a letter. And if you push back, expect hell. To her, the neighborhood was a stage, and she was a director. When Derrick moved in, Victoria's eyes locked on him immediately. It began with parking. Derrick parked his Polo partly on the street one evening. By dawn, he had a violation notice on his windshield. Then came more. Weeds visible. Basketball hoop not allowed. Unapproved car wash activity. To Derrick, it was harassment. To Victoria, it was enforcement. Neighbors whispered that she was targeting him. But no one dared challenge Victoria. Until one summer afternoon, when everything boiled over. It was hot that Saturday. The kind of heat that made tempers flare. Derrick was outside polishing his Polo, headphones in, Caleb nearby drawing chalk art on the driveway. Music played softly. Victoria stormed down the sidewalk. HOA binder clutched like a holy book. "Mr. Coleman," she snapped. Derrick pulled out his earbuds. "Yes, ma'am. You can't wash or polish your car in the driveway. It's against HOA policy." Derrick frowned. "I'm not washing, just wiping it down. My property." Victoria's voice rose. "Don't talk back. We have standards here. Standards you clearly don't understand." Neighbors' doors cracked open. Eyes peeked. Tension hung in the humid air. Derrick sighed. "Look, I followed every rule you've thrown at me. Enough is enough." And then it happened. Victoria stepped forward. Her hand lifted. And with a shocking snap, she slapped him. The crack echoed. Caleb dropped his chalk. Derrick's face burned, not just with a sting, but with humiliation. For a moment, silence. Then gasps. Then the unmistakable sound of a phone recording. By evening, the video hit Facebook groups and local Twitter feeds. Title: HOA wife assaults black man in his own driveway. The footage was clear. Victoria slapping Derrick. Derrick standing stunned. Caleb frozen in shock. The community divided instantly. Some defended Derrick. "That poor man. She crossed a line. Others defended Victoria. He was being aggressive. She felt threatened. The HOA board issued a statement. This is a private matter between residents. But it was too late. The story had escaped the gates of Willow Creek. Police arrived the next morning. A minor assault, technically, but when Detective Marissa Caldwell took the call, she sensed it was bigger. Caldwell was sharp, mid-40s, known for her dogged approach. She'd seen plenty of suburban disputes. But something about Victoria's brazenness bothered her. She interviewed Derrick first. His calmness impressed her. He didn't want revenge. He wanted accountability. Then she spoke with Victoria. Her version? Self-defense. But the video didn't lie. So why did she slap him? Why risk her reputation, her perfect life, over a driveway dispute? Caldwell started digging. Behind the manicured lawns, Caldwell uncovered rot. Financial reports showed irregularities. HOA fees funneled into maintenance contracts that didn't exist. Vendors linked to Richard Halston's brother-in-law. And then came testimonies. Families of color fined more aggressively. Petty violations stacked until foreclosure threats appeared. Whispered warnings. If you speak up, they'll bury you. The slap wasn't about a car. It was about control. Victoria had struck Derrick not out of sudden anger, but to remind him of his place. As Caldwell investigated, Derrick's life spiraled. Anonymous notes appeared in his mailbox. Leave before it gets worse. His Polo's tires were slashed. Caleb's soccer ball was found deflated, torn with a knife. At night, cars slowed outside his house, headlights lingering. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was intimidation. But Derrick refused to leave. I served my country, he told Caldwell. I'll be damned if I can't live in peace in my own home. Caldwell suspected a larger conspiracy, but the suspects multiplied. Richard Halston, HOA president tied to shady finances. Victoria Halston, the slap-aggressive enforcer, possible cover-up. Board treasurer Martin Keene, rumored to have gambling debts. Disgruntled ex-homeowner Gerard Fletcher, ousted after clashing with Victoria, maybe seeking revenge. One night, Caldwell received an anonymous tip. Checked the black folder. She searched HOA storage, and there it was. A locked cabinet, a folder marked confidential. Inside, photos, notes, records of targeted families. Derrick's name circled in red. This wasn't random. It was systematic. Then came the night that changed everything. Derrick woke to the sound of glass shattering. A brick had been thrown through his living room window. Attached, a note. Next time, it won't be your window. Caldwell urged him to stay elsewhere, but Derrick refused. I won't be run out, not like the others. But as he stood in the wreckage, holding the note in trembling hands, a terrible realization hit him. This wasn't just about him anymore. Caleb was in danger too. Caldwell pushed for charges against Victoria. Assault, harassment. But the HOA lawyer fought back, painting Derrick as hostile. Still, the evidence, the video, the folder, the threats, was too strong to bury. Victoria was arrested. Richard faced financial audits. The HOA board scrambled. For the first time, the Halstons weren't untouchable. But Derrick knew it wasn't over, because the slap had uncovered something bigger. A system designed to silence, to control, to profit off fear. And the people behind it? They weren't done. Late one night, as Derrick tucked Caleb into bed, headlights flared outside again. He peered through blinds. This time, it wasn't Victoria. It wasn't Richard. It was someone else. Watching. On his windshield, a new note appeared. Victoria was only the beginning. Next, we come for you. Derrick's blood ran cold. The slap had been the spark. But the fire? It was just getting started. The note on Derrick's windshield haunted him. Victoria was only the beginning. Next, we come for you. He tried to dismiss it as scare tactics. But every night, headlights slowed outside his home. Sometimes the same SUV. Sometimes different cars. Always lingering. His son Caleb grew anxious. Dad, why are people watching us? He whispered one night. Derrick didn't have an answer. Detective Caldwell increased patrols, but she admitted privately, These aren't random punks. Someone's orchestrating this. The arrest of Victoria split Willow Creek even further. Some neighbors avoided Derrick entirely, fearful of being caught in the drama. Others left anonymous letters of support on his porch. Stay strong. We see you. But the louder voices were hostile. You're ruining the neighborhood. If you hadn't made a scene, none of this would have happened. Why don't you just move? At a heated HOA meeting, one board member shouted, "This man is dividing our community." But what Derrick didn't know yet was that some of his neighbors weren't just against him. They were actively plotting behind closed doors. Detective Caldwell kept digging. Through subpoenas, she uncovered hidden HOA bank accounts, offshore transfers linked to construction projects that never existed. The Halstons weren't just mismanaging funds. They were laundering money. But when Caldwell pressed further, witnesses suddenly went silent. Documents disappeared. Even her own department warned her, tread carefully. The Halstons have friends in high places. Caldwell began to suspect the HOA wasn't just corrupt. It was connected. Then it escalated. One evening, Derrick returned home from work to find his Polo vandalized. The windshield smashed. The word "leave" spray painted across the hood in red. Caleb cried when he saw it. "Dad, they hate us." Derrick filed another report, but police shrugged. Could be teenagers. But Caldwell knew better. This isn't random. They're trying to break you. The attacks weren't just physical. They were psychological. Late-night calls with silence on the line. Emails flooding Derrick's inbox. "Get out before your kid gets hurt." A dead crow left on his porch one morning. Derrick felt the walls closing in. He began sleeping in the living room with a baseball bat nearby. Caleb stopped playing outside. He withdrew, refusing to draw chalk art on the driveway anymore. And Derrick, once calm and steady, started snapping at co-workers, losing focus his job. The HOA wasn't just targeting his home. They were trying to dismantle his soul. Then, an unexpected figure emerged. Daniel Keene, the brother of Martin Keene, the HOA treasurer, contacted Caldwell anonymously. He claimed he had proof. Ledgers, recordings, and internal emails showing the Halstons and their inner circle not only misusing HOA funds, but also targeting minority homeowners deliberately to push them out. Daniel admitted he once helped cover up the fraud, but guilt and fear had consumed him. "I can't carry this anymore," he told Caldwell. "But if they find out I talked, I'm dead." Caldwell promised protection, but promises are fragile in Willow Creek. Daniel led Caldwell to a storage unit under a false name. Inside, boxes of HOA records, far beyond what she had subpoenaed. One folder chilled her, high-risk families. Inside were dossiers on homeowners, race, income, weak points. Some had notes like "husband drinks" or "wife depressed." Others had red excess over their names. Families who had quietly left. And Derrick's file? It was the thickest, marked in bold. Resistant. Escalate pressure. But just as Caldwell prepared to move forward, Daniel vanished. His phone disconnected. His apartment ransacked. No sign of him. The department called him unreliable. Caldwell feared the worst. And then came a message to Derrick's phone. A blurry photo of Daniel tied to a chair. With it, a single text. "Stay quiet," or "He disappears forever." The community, once just divided, now turned hostile. At a school board meeting, parents accused Derrick of bringing crime into the neighborhood. Caleb was bullied at school. Kids taunted him, saying, "Your dad's a troublemaker." One night, Derrick collapsed in exhaustion. He confessed to Caldwell, "I don't know how much longer I can protect my son." But Caldwell wasn't giving up. She believed this wasn't just HOA corruption anymore. This was organized crime hiding behind white fences and welcome signs. Then, the unthinkable. Derrick woke one morning to find Caleb's bedroom window wide open, the curtains flapping in the breeze. His heart dropped. He ran into the room. The bed was empty. On the desk, a note written in block letters. "You didn't listen." When Derrick saw Caleb's bed empty, his knees buckled. The chalk drawings on the driveway, Caleb's favorite soccer ball, all of it flashed before him. He ran into the yard, screaming his son's name. Neighbors' lights flicked on, but nobody came out to help. Detective Caldwell arrived within minutes. The look on her face was grave. This isn't HOA harassment anymore. This is kidnapping. The police launched an Amber Alert. Flyers, phone calls, checkpoints. But whispers spread in the neighborhood. Maybe he ran away. Maybe Derrick staged this. That man is bringing chaos into our community. Caldwell knew better. She pushed her team. This was planned. That note proves it. Then a breakthrough. A traffic camera caught a dark SUV speeding away from Willow Creek at 2:17 a.m. The license plate was blurred, but the vehicle matched one spotted near Derrick's house before. Public pressure mounted. Reporters swarmed Willow Creek. Headlines blared. Boy missing after HOA scandal. The Halstons stayed silent, their lawyer issuing cold statements. But Caldwell noticed something. The Halstons weren't panicked, almost as if they knew something. She suspected Caleb's disappearance wasn't random. It was leverage, a warning. And Derrick? He was unraveling. At a press conference, his voice cracked. My boy is out there. Someone knows something. Please, please. Then a shock. Daniel Keene, the missing whistleblower from Part 2, resurfaced. Barely conscious. He was found dumped outside a rural hospital. Beaten, shaken, but alive. Through cracked lips, he whispered to Caldwell. They have a place. Storage, out by the river. That's where they take people when they want to scare them. Caldwell pressed. Is Caleb there? Daniel's eyes welled. I don't know. But if he is, he doesn't have much time. Caldwell led a tactical raid on the storage facility. Dark, moldy units. Chains on the doors. Evidence of confinement. Ropes, duct tape, old mattresses. But no Caleb. Instead, they found something worse. Files, more dossiers on minority families. Plans for forced foreclosures. Even emails tying HOA money laundering to real estate developers across the state. This wasn't just neighborhood bullying. It was organized crime disguised as suburban order. And Caleb? He was a bargaining chip in a much bigger game. Days passed. No sign of Caleb. Derrick refused to leave his Polo, parked now in front of the HOA office. He sat there for hours, staring at Victoria's empty house. Fists clenched. Neighbors whispered, he's losing it. But Caldwell understood. They took his son. He's not going to stop until he gets him back. Then the call came. A distorted voice. You want your boy back? Stop digging. Drop the investigation. Leave Willow Creek. Derrick shouted into the phone. Where is he? The line went dead. Minutes later, a text buzzed on his phone. A photo. Caleb blindfolded, sitting in a dark room. The caption, choices have consequences. Caldwell faced a choice, follow protocol or go rogue. She reached out to federal contacts. The FBI had been tracking organized HOA corruption rings in other states. Willow Creek fit the pattern, but the feds warned, you're playing with fire. These people aren't amateurs. They make people disappear. Still, Caldwell pressed forward, because for Derrick, every hour mattered. One night, Derrick received a note slipped under his door. Meet me alone. Midnight, the tennis courts. Caldwell insisted it was a trap, but Derrick went anyway. In the shadows, a hooded figure stepped out. A woman's voice. Shaking. I used to work for the Halstons. I know where they keep him. Derrick's heart pounded. Where? She whispered one word. The lodge. Before Derrick could ask more, headlights flared. The woman bolted. Derrick barely escaped as an SUV roared into courts, chasing him into the woods. Back at home, Derrick replayed the woman's words. The lodge. Caldwell dug into old records. The Halstons once owned a private hunting lodge, 20 miles out in the forest. Abandoned, supposedly. But then, surveillance showed something chilling. Trucks still going in and out of property at night. And just as Caldwell prepared to raid it, her phone buzzed. A new message. A live video feed. Caleb, crying. And behind him, a masked figure holding a knife. The voice said, if you come for him, we end it tonight. Detective Caldwell traced the lead, the Halstons' old property, the lodge, a secluded hunting retreat deep in the forest, 20 miles from Willow Creek, officially abandoned. But satellite images told another story. Fresh tire tracks, trucks delivering supplies, strange activity at night. For Caldwell, it fit. The Halstons' perfect neighborhood empire wasn't just about finds and lawns. It was a cover for something much larger. And Caleb was caught in the middle. Caldwell reached out to her federal contact, Agent Thomas Vega, the FBI. Vega confirmed suspicions. Willow Creek's HOA was tied to a multi-state corruption ring. Fake security companies, money laundering through maintenance fees, intimidation networks designed to push out targeted families. But when Caldwell pressed for an immediate raid, Vega hesitated. These people are dangerous. If we storm the lodge, they might kill the boy to cover their tracks. It was a nightmare dilemma. Time was running out. Every hour Caleb remained missing, the danger grew. Derrick couldn't wait on bureaucracy. I don't care about their red tape. That's my son, he told Caldwell, fists clenched. He began driving near the forest roads himself, searching for signs of activity. Exhausted, paranoid, and on edge, he kept hearing Caleb's voice in his head. Dad, are they coming for me? Caldwell warned him. If you go alone, you'll walk into a trap. But Derrick was already making plans. The FBI eventually agreed to set up surveillance. Night vision drones captured footage, armed guards patrolling the property, floodlights, and through one cracked window, the faint outline of a child's silhouette. It was Caleb, alive, but not for long if the threats were real. Meanwhile, inside Willow Creek, the HOA board scrambled. Richard Halston insisted he had no knowledge of the kidnapping, but Caldwell uncovered evidence tying him to encrypted communications with lodge operatives. At one tense board meeting, Treasurer Martin Keene panicked, blurting, "This wasn't supposed to go this far." He was silenced quickly, but Caldwell caught it. The kidnapping wasn't rogue. It was sanctioned. Agent Vega designed a plan. FBI teams would breach the lodge at dawn. Caldwell would accompany them as liaison. Derrick was told to stay away. But Derrick didn't listen. That night, he armed himself with nothing but a flashlight and determination. He drove his Polo to the edge of the forest and set off on foot. He wasn't going to wait for permission. At dawn, chaos erupted. The FBI stormed the property. Gunshots cracked. Guards scattered. Caldwell moved with precision, heart pounding. Inside the lodge, a labyrinth of rooms, cages, files. Signs of human trafficking layered into the HOA corruption scheme. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. And then, in the basement, Caldwell found him. Caleb, bound, crying, but alive. "Dad," he whispered, weak. But Derrick wasn't there yet. He was still fighting his way in from the forest. Just as Caldwell freed Caleb, a masked man lunged forward, knife in hand. The FBI tackled him. But as the mask slipped, Caldwell froze. It wasn't a hired thug. It wasn't a stranger. It was Councilman Peter Latham, a local politician who had publicly denounced Derrick just weeks earlier, claiming he was bringing shame to the neighborhood. Why was a politician at the heart of an HOA criminal ring? The answer was more terrifying than the slap itself. Caldwell rushed Caleb outside, where Derrick finally burst through the trees. Father and son embraced, sobbing. For a moment, it felt like the nightmare had ended. But inside the lodge, FBI agents uncovered ledgers, cash, and connections reaching beyond Willow Creek. The Halstons were just middlemen. The real power ran deeper. And Councilman Latham? He wasn't talking. Not yet. That night, Derrick and Caleb returned home under FBI protection. Broken windows boarded up. A quiet that felt too heavy. But as Derrick tucked Caleb into bed, he found something slipped under his pillow. A note, handwritten. "You save him once. But this is only the beginning. We know where you sleep. We know where you work. And next time, there won't be a warning." Derrick's hands trembled as he read it. Because despite the raid, despite the arrest, despite the reunion, the nightmare wasn't over. It had only grown bigger. The days after the raid felt surreal. FBI agents patrolled Willow Creek. News vans lined the streets. Neighbors whispered, avoiding Derrick's eyes. On the surface, Caleb was home, safe, smiling again. But Derrick could see the fear behind his son's eyes. He jumped at every sound. He refused to sleep unless the lights were on. Derrick himself barely slept at all. Every creak in the house felt like danger. Every car slowing outside made his heart pound. The note under the pillow was burned into his brain. Next time, there won't be a warning. Victoria Halston, the HOA wife who started it all with a slap, finally faced her day in court. The courtroom was packed. Cameras flashed. Prosecutors laid out her assault on Derrick, her role in targeting minority homeowners, and her ties to HOA corruption. Her defense? She painted herself as a victim. "I was protecting my community," she cried. "He intimidated me. I was afraid." The video of the slap played on the big screen. The jury saw the truth. A man standing calm, a woman lashing out. Victoria was convicted of assault and conspiracy. But Derrick didn't feel victory, because he knew Victoria wasn't the mastermind. She was a pawn. Councilman Latham sat behind bars, awaiting trial. The FBI pressing for answers. Who else was involved? Who funded the operations? But Latham stayed silent. His lawyer claimed he was being framed. Then one night, before his court date, Latham was found collapsed in his cell. Poisoned. Dead. With him went the trail of evidence that could have brought down the bigger network. Detective Caldwell faced backlash from her own department. "You went too far," her captain scolded. "You brought in the feds without clearance. Now a councilman's dead and the city is in chaos." But Caldwell refused to back down. She told Derrick privately, "They want this buried. But I can't stop now. The Halstons, Latham, they were middle links. There's someone higher." Derrick asked, "Higher than a politician?" Caldwell's silence said it all. Inside Willow Creek, the HOA tried to rebrand. A new president was elected. Statements of healing and unity filled newsletters. But the truth was ugly. Some neighbors rallied around Derrick. Others blamed him. "He brought the FBI here," they whispered. "He destroyed our peace." One night, Derrick's polo was keyed. Across the side, one word carved deep: traitor. This wasn't unity. It was civil war on manicured lawns. Caleb returned to school, but the bullying grew worse. Kids mocked him. "Your dad's the reason my parents pay higher dues." Some parents even pulled their children away from him, whispering, "Stay clear of that family." One night, Derrick found his son crying in bed. "Dad," Caleb whispered, "why don't we just move? Please." But Derrick shook his head. "Because if we leave, they win. And I won't let them win." Then came a breakthrough. From the files seized at the lodge, Caldwell uncovered a name: Victor Armand, a wealthy construction tycoon, known for funding HOA boards across multiple states, known for redeveloping communities after homeowners were forced out. The Halstons worked for him. Latham was his political shield. And Victor Armand? He was still free, still powerful, still untouchable. Then, something strange happened. Derrick received a formal letter, gold embossed, delivered by courier. Inside, an invitation. "Mr. Coleman, join me for dinner. No threats, no violence, just a conversation. Victor Armand." Derrick showed it to Caldwell. "It's a trap," she warned. But Derrick's mind churned. Why would the man at the top invite me personally? What did he want? Derrick agreed. Under FBI surveillance, he walked into a 5-star restaurant downtown. And there he was, Victor Armand. Immaculate suit, silver hair slicked back, calm, predatory eyes. He smiled as Derrick sat. "You made quite a mess in Willow Creek. Impressive, really." Derrick clenched his fists. "You had my son kidnapped." Armand sipped his wine. "Collateral. Nothing personal. But you, Mr. Coleman, you could be an asset. Or an obstacle." Derrick stared, confused. "What are you talking about?" Armand leaned forward. "Everything you've seen? That was the small stage. I run the real show. And I don't like loose ends." As Derrick left the restaurant, shaken, he noticed something terrifying. Across the street, a black SUV idled. its headlights fixed on him. Inside, two men in suits. One lifted his phone, took a photo, and just before the SUV drove off, Derrick caught a glimpse of the license plate. The same blurred plate from the night Caleb was kidnapped. It wasn't over. It was only escalating. After leaving the dinner with Victor Armand, Derrick felt the eyes on him. The black SUV with the blurred plates confirmed it. He was being watched. Back at home, FBI agent Vega assured him, "We'll protect you. Armand wants to scare you into silence." But Derrick knew better. This wasn't just about silence. Armand had offered him a choice: be an asset or an obstacle. And obstacles didn't live long. Detective Caldwell pushed the FBI for immediate action. "We have enough," she argued. "The files, the ledgers, the kidnapping. We can bring Armand down." But the higher-ups hesitated. Armand's influence reached judges, politicians, even federal circles. "Proceed carefully," they warned. Caldwell looked at Derrick. Carefully means slowly. And slowly means Caleb could be taken again. Meanwhile, Caleb struggled. He had nightmares of the lodge. Woke screaming in the night. Drew pictures of men in masks. One evening, he asked Derrick, "Dad, are we safe here? Or will they come back?" Derrick couldn't answer. He could only hold his son close, fighting back tears. Then came the breaking point. One night, Willow Creek erupted in chaos. A fire consumed the HOA office building. Files destroyed. Evidence gone. Graffiti on the smoldering walls read, "Control the narrative, or burn it down." Caldwell knew immediately Armand was cleaning house. And Derrick realized, if Armand was willing to torch buildings, what else was he willing to do? The FBI moved fast. Caldwell convinced Vega to act without waiting for higher approval. At dawn, agents raided Armand's penthouse downtown. Inside, safes filled with cash, fake contracts, offshore account details. Enough to topple his empire. But Armand wasn't there. He'd fled hours earlier. Caldwell cursed under her breath. Derrick clenched his fists. He's still out there. Then Derrick's phone buzzed. A final message. "You chose to be an obstacle. Obstacles get crushed." 3 days later, a breakthrough. Armand's private jet was grounded at a small airfield. The FBI surrounded him before takeoff. For the first time, the puppet master was in chains. News headlines exploded. Tycoon behind HOA corruption ring arrested. Across multiple states, families once targeted by HOA intimidation stepped forward. Derrick's story gave them courage. The Halstons faded into obscurity. Their empire shattered. And Willow Creek? Forever stained by the truth. Derrick finally had peace, not perfect peace, but enough. He rebuilt his polo, scarred by vandalism but still running strong. He helped Caleb heal one day at a time. He attended town halls, speaking about what happened. "Never let silence protect corruption," he told his neighbors. Because silence is exactly what they count on. Detective Caldwell was promoted. She and Derrick stayed in touch, bound by the fire they walked through together. But whispers remained. Armand's arrest didn't end everything. His allies, his networks, his money, some of it was still out there. And Derrick knew victory was fragile. Dear viewers, this story began with a slap that was supposed to humiliate a man into silence. But instead, it exposed everything. It showed us how greed can hide in plain sight, how racism can wear the mask of rules and standards, and how one act of defiance, a father refusing to back down, can unravel an empire. But it also showed us something darker. That corruption doesn't live only in boardrooms and banks. It can live next door, hidden behind trimmed hedges and polite smiles. So the lesson is clear. Communities are only as strong as the courage of the people inside them. And when power is abused, silence is complicity. And now, dear viewers, the question is yours to carry. If it were your neighborhood, would you speak up or would you stay silent?